welcome back. We just had Dave Sumrall from Stop Hate. He's lovely.
He is.
He is lovely. He's a really genuine guy who's got really fighting a lot. And don't.
Sorry.
No. Sorry.
Stop. Right, here we are, back. Hello. You have to excuse us. We are now in hour 12. We do have another
18
hours to go.
24, isn't it?
18.
24.
36 hours.
36.
We only have another 24 hours to go. So if you see us laughing, if the cut screen goes here and there, we are obviously, this is the most important subject in the world for us.
Yeah, it
but
is.
we get overtired, and it's just
That's
we have
what
to
it
try
is.
and compose ourselves.
So obviously we're not laughing at the content. We're laughing because we got the giggles because of this lack of sleep and
sitting here
this
doing
happened
this for
first
12
time
yeah,
round,
it did
didn't
happen. It happened the first time. It didn't happen the second time because we managed to get a bit of sleep here and there, didn't we?
Yeah,
but this
so
time
we
we're going
actually
full on, and each other times we've only got done about 30 hours. So this is the big push. So it has started a bit earlier tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to pull it back.
Yeah, we'll pull it back because we always do, and then it might happen again later on, maybe, perhaps. But yeah, we're just waiting for Ronnie Herman from Canada. We did a show with her a couple of weeks
ago.
No.
Yeah, she's not. She hasn't joined the Zoom call. Jason might have to come in and step in a minute if it just gets a bit too much. So as I say, this won't always be here. We won't always be behaving like this.
I'm really sorry. It's need to not be able to see you.
Oh, I'm sure Rick can find a little advert to play while we just go and compose ourselves. Or not. Oh, we've heard from Ronnie, that's it. Have a look and see if we've heard from Ronnie Herman.
Yeah.
Ronnie Herman is Sogi in Canada, and they are fighting this education over there. She's absolutely brilliant. She has her own podcast that she does. So we're hoping she's here. I hope we haven't got the time zones wrong.
Right, hang on, let me just go back and check.
Maybe we could just ring her. Oh, Paul Fitch is there. Maybe we should get Paul Fitch if he can
5 p.m. her time. She's 7 hours behind. She's 7 hours behind us.
Yeah,
so make it midnight, wouldn't it?
Yeah, so she should really be here.
That's all right.
Jesus. I didn't notice Michael Manfield's daughter hanged herself in 2015.
So where are we then? We don't know if Ronnie's coming on.
She will be here. She is online, but there might be a bit of a difference in time. Because I thought they were 7 hours behind.
Maybe ring and then she'll notice it. Just let it ring a couple of times. So let's just say why we're here, why we're calm. We're here for publicchildprotectionwales.org, a group of parents that have taken the Welsh Government to court over the curriculum that is being put on to school children from the age of 3, which involves sexualisation of 3-year-olds and masturbation, queer theory and the queer agenda, and the whole trans agenda. And these parents had a judicial review which was lost. They've had nearly £100,000 worth of costs put on them. We don't think it's fair that they should carry that burden because they're now going in for the appeal. And they are completely grassroots. 5 parents, concerned parents of Wales have been organising fundraisers, and we are doing this 36-hour podcast-athon to raise awareness of what's going on in the schools and to raise money to help with the court costs of these 5 parents. And you can find all the information that you need in publicchildprotectionwales.org. We are Liberty Tactics. We've been going since 2012, and we're all about the children. We're censored everywhere, as are Public Child Protection Wales. There is going to be a rally in central London that Public Child Protection Wales are organising on the 17th of May outside Parliament. The paperwork's all been completed and gone in because I think there's a big stack of paperwork that has to be submitted before any rallies or anything are allowed to go on. But there are going to be lots of speakers travelling up to London to support them. We've had an unbelievable day so far. We've had We kicked off the show with Richard Vobes, and welcome to Richard Vobes viewers. Thank you so much, Richard,
you
for
really did a good
really getting the word out there, because we've only started the YouTube channel again yesterday because we haven't been on there now for about 6 years. So that was started today. He shared it. We've had Matt Letitia on, we've had the lovely Paul Fitch, we've had Nigel Thorne talking about queer theory, we've had Sandy Adams, and bless her, she's going to bring this to the forefront of everywhere she goes now as well. We've had Sid Caudle from the Christian People's Alliance, we've had the lovely Alex Thompson, we've had Adele, who's one of the claimants, and she's out there doing, she's great, Adele. There's no words to explain Adele. We could have had her on like for 3 hours.
I was just going to say the exact same
We've had
thing.
George Sando talking about porn and why,
and child trafficking,
as well, paedophile rings. We've had DJ Slipmat, who's a friend of the show. We've had the lovely Dave Sumrall, my favourite American, and we are just waiting for Ronnie Herman.
Yeah, it was
from
my fault.
Sojing.
So I got a time distance. So she's just said, "Can you give me a couple of minutes?" So
Okay,
yeah,
that's
she will
absolutely
be
fine.
coming on, and we did a show with Ronnie, didn't we? And it was actually one of the best ones, because the things that are going on in Canada, well, pre-COVID as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You know, what they were doing to them in the schools, and she explained it from a teacher's point of view. Obviously, she's not a teacher anymore, and you know, basically said how many of the teachers were, you know, for this ideology and who wouldn't speak up, and you know, she's done a lot. You know, our website that she's built there with others. I know there's people from, well, there's across the world actually, isn't there? There's Africa, you know, somebody. So from that point of view, it's brilliant to see, because actually there are people, you know, they might be in other nations or whatever, but they are actively fighting against the same things we are, and some of the things she's done so far are just, you know, they're outstanding.
Yeah, and we're going to hear loads
about
about that. Loads about that.
Yeah.
I just want to run through who we've got now for the rest of the show. We're going to be seeing some a movie. We're going to be looking at the Kinsey paedophiles. It's harrowing. That's why we're putting it on late, because we're all about saving our children. So we don't want any children coming in and hearing any of the context and being exposed to that. Then we're going to look at the Raised on Porn documentary film, which is vital. Have we played What is a Woman?
Minor.
Oh, we got the lovely Christine. How can I miss? I don't know how we missed Christine. The lovely Christine. I can't wait for Christine. I really can't. So we've got the Kinsey movie. We've got Raised on Porn. We've also then going to have the Groomed documentary, which is incredible. And our guest tomorrow, Lawrence Fox, is obviously going to be talking about that and his bad education program that he's starting. We're going to have the lovely Nick Tenconi from Turning Point UK. He was up in Lewisham today at the Drag Queen Story Hour. Then we've got an interview we did last night or the night before with Brian Garish. That's pretty.
No, it wasn't.
That's pretty like heavy. That is. Then we've got Andy Heisman. He's been watching all day. God bless him. Hello, Andy. How you doing? He's delighted. He's coming on at that time to see the demise and what state we're in. He was actually really excited.
Well, I've composed myself now anyway, so I'm going to.
But we're only into hour 12, darling, and we started very early. Giggles. So then we've got Andy Heisman. Then we've got Lawrence Fox. We got Clive de Carl. Then we got Dan Watkins, Joan and Matty Ginsberg from North Wales. Can't wait. The lovely Tanya Joy Gibson from America. And then we've got Chan Abraham from the Heritage Party, Belinda, and then we're going to be all of us talking and probably bringing Paul in and others, and then we'll be putting some more vital documentaries out, and then we'll pop in to close the show. So 36 hours. We're going to keep going. We're not going to sleep. We're going to be here the whole time. And if you like the content we're doing, or you feel that you want us to support these families, they're doing it for the children. They're not just doing it for the children of Wales, they're doing it for the entire country. Catherine, over to you.
Yeah, well, you pretty much summed it all up there. We've got a great lineup, haven't we?
And we're streaming on YouTube still, Rumble. I'm not sure about Facebook still.
Yeah, I don't know.
But share it on your social media platforms. There have been events here in the UK over the last couple of weeks where there have been online charging £20-30 for about 5 or 6 speakers. Here you've got 30 speakers over the course of 36 hours. Vital information. you know, we're not just repeating ourselves with the same message. We're talking about different points of view and the dangers of it. I do hope we get Kimberly back on tomorrow. I really do, because we need to speak to her again. She came on a bit earlier.
Perhaps she'd be able to close the show.
Yeah, with us, that'd be fine.
Before we go and get some much needed rest.
Yes, because we're not going to be getting any for the next 24 hours.
We're only 1/3 in, you know, so we've got another 2 of these.
Oh, great. I think I've just heard the beep of Ronnie. I'm sure I heard the beep of Ronnie come in, but maybe not.
I did your beep this
Aha! I wonder if Jason need to be in here to let her in, or can Rick do all of that?
I'm on it. It's okay.
Yes, and she's got her sweatshirt on. Can I show you sweatshirt off?
Oh yeah, Liberty Tactics.
Hang on.
Oh, I can't get in there without. I'll show you later. It's the Public Child
Protection
Protection
Wales
badge
on the back.
On the back. It's a bit of a tight.
So I'm going to put
squeeze
my
here,
red
so-
one on later on. I think I'll put
Yeah,
my red
it's getting a
one
bit cold now because we're going into the depths of the night. But
It is a
yeah,
bit nice.
Ronnie's on, is she?
She's here, I think.
Yeah. Oh hi.
Hi. You're muted. There she is.
I don't know if it was supposed to be 7 hours or 8 hours, but I had just put out a message everywhere to come on at 5 o'clock. So I don't know if it's 7 hours or 8 hours. My apologies for keeping you waiting.
No,
That's
no,
all
that's
right.
all right, Ronnie. It's probably my fault, to be fair.
Probably.
It will be. It's probably my fault. So I've given you the wrong time. For some reason, I thought it was a 7-hour time lapse, which would 5 p.m. your time would make it midnight here. But maybe
Yeah, and it's not 5 o'clock here. It's actually 4:19.
Oh, is there? So there is. There's more than.
So
So I was in a
hours.
dress. I was in a dress, sipping wine, eating feta cheese and olives, and then you're like,
Oh,
So I
Ronnie,
quickly
thank
I'm
you
so
so
sorry
much.
for pulling you away quicker. Sorry, Ronnie. It is my fault. But thank you for coming on.
well, I'm glad that I was home to be able to jump on right away. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Well, we're into hour 12 now of broadcasting. We've got another 24 hours to go. Let's talk about what you do and you, Ronnie, because you were a teacher over there in Canada. Let's talk about your story and how you started your organisation.
Okay, so I was an educator, and I'm going to say the school board. I'm going to out them out. I was an educator for the Vancouver School Board here. That's our main city in British Columbia. And I was an educator there for over 15 years. And I resigned under duress in the year of 2021 because I could see how they were indoctrinating kids, the masking. I don't know what censors I have to keep on here with me talking.
No,
No,
you
you
keep
carry
going.
on.
Just
Cold words.
just if you're using certain words, like use a jibby jabber, or
Okay.
whatever, just kind of cover it up a little bit, because this is our first time back on YouTube.
Oh,
It'd be nice
then
to
I
turn. It
know
doesn't
all
matter
about
if we
that.
lose it. It doesn't matter. People could just go to Rumble.
So in March of 2021, as I officially resigned from the Vancouver School Board, I did not want to indoctrinate the students and what they were wanting us to do. I could see how they were modifying students' behavior, how they were changing the environment, things that they were doing, things were not making sense. Really seeing how they were keeping parents out of the loop, not even allowed to go to the bathroom. They weren't even allowed to go outside if they wanted to watch a Halloween performance, which is usually inside. And, there was a lot of craziness that was going on. But I'd say that this pronoun stuff that we're hearing about for us in BC, it actually rolled out before the, I don't know what you call it, pandemic. I don't know what's a safe word to use.
The nonsense.
So we actually got notified before the pandemic that the pronouns actually had to start. And so that's when things started making sense for me through our report card writing, school-based team meetings, any resource forms that we would have to do for a speech and language pathologist, occupational therapist. We were told now there was new regulation by Victoria, BC, where all the filing of students' report cards go, and that there was new legislation being passed down that we could not have in the report card writing he or she. We had to eliminate that, and it had to be the child's name, it or they. And that was a slow rollout of the pronouns. And we're over, 1,000 pronouns or more. I can't even keep up to the circus. But that's when it started coming out. And obviously back then, we didn't know about the pandemic. We didn't know stuff that was going on worldwide. And things weren't just making sense. And from there, it was just a slippery slope going down. I could see what was happening in front of me, but I didn't know where this pronoun thing was going to go. I didn't know that it was going to get to where we are today, where we have the gender ideology. We're getting kids signed up for these operations. I felt like I was blindsided, right? And then you could see how the Marxism was actually coming into the education where for inside schools, children were not allowed to sing because they fear of that spreading droplets. But then yet my principal is giving all the teachers the song to Black Lives Matter through Raffi to sing it in class. And I absolutely said, there is no way I'm going to be singing this Marxist song if I can't wish a 5-year-old happy birthday in the classroom with his peers and celebrate. That's not going to happen. So call human resources, do whatever you need to do. I'm not going to do it. And that time they left me alone because I just said, I'm not doing it. So there was that, modifying children's behavior with how they were taping down hallways, signs they were putting in, changing their behavior with the social conditioning, the psychological conditioning. I could see how that was slowly being rolled out. And the statistics weren't matching. So every few months we had to have these safety and health meetings where slides were done up by our provincial health officers, a coordination with their safety health officer for school districts. And the statistics weren't matching. It's a transmission from teacher to student. But yet we're doing all this other crazy stuff. And I'm saying, wait a sec, this is not making sense here. This is happening here, but we're doing this. And I started rocking the boat. Now, obviously, I was not the favorite person in the classroom or in the school. I started getting more bullied, harassed. My coworkers were telling me, why am I not conforming? Just do it. The masking of slowly and creeping from just in the classroom to outside the classroom to now we're wearing it inside the whole day. Now we're wearing it inside and outside. Seeing how they were scaffolding students and staff's behavior and getting to adapt to this and saying this is the new norm. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm absolutely not doing this. And so there was that. And I think the biggest thing was we supposedly I was in a kindergarten classroom that year. So for kindergartens here in BC, it's 5-year-olds. So I was dealing with 4-year-olds going to 5 or just met 5. So that's the age group that I was dealing with that year. And we had a couple of COVID positive cases in our classroom. My principal was acting a little bit shifty, where she was calling me from her personal cell phone while I'm grocery shopping, telling me, don't tell any of the staff that this had happened. You can't tell any of the parents that this has happened. And yet we got a guy at the front desk on the day that, a 5-year-old was COVID positive. Yet we have a person at the front desk with a 5-gallon bucket and a sprayer spraying down the whole classroom and not notifying one person what's the content in the bucket, right? This is my work environment. And for school boards, you have safety and health regulations that they have to abide by, even as far as temperature. If the temperature is too low, it's supposed to be 15 degrees. If it's lower than 15 degrees, you're not supposed to be teaching, right? There's all these standards. So those standards went out the window. Parents weren't notified that this whole room was just sprayed. Then the conditioning, so the words that we're hearing now with lockdowns, and we've been hearing those buzzwords for 3 years, what parents don't know is that we, as school boards here, were conditioning them at least 5 to 8 years before that, the words lockdown. And so we were traumatizing kids. So I'll give you an example. Just as we would do the fire drills, we would do lockdown drills. And the lockdown drills would consist lockdown, kind of like a prison, right? You use the word lockdowns for prison. Gee, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then the children would go into the classrooms. They would lock the doors, cover the blinds, everything's locked. And we get all the children to sit in a corner and to be quiet. Because if there's a predator inside the school and all the doors are locked inside the school, if the predator's inside, we don't want him to find us, right? So this is what they're drilling into kids' heads. So then we would have a police officer who at that time, we did have police officers that would be volunteering at our school maybe once a week, just kind of making that relationship with the students. We would have yearly barbecues with them. So we would see a police officer, or if it wasn't a police officer, another person. The kids would see the shadow of this person walking by the window because we have long curtains on the inside of the school. They would see a shadow of this person come by. They would see them shaking the door like crazy. And I've got these 5-year-olds crying in the corner, pissing their pants. And I'm saying, no, we're just pretending. We're just pretending. I know there are some smart people that are listening. Can 5-year-olds distinguish what is real and what is not?
No.
Can they? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And we were doing that. I don't know how many times a year we were doing that and had to be charted, right? I think we probably did those more than we would do earthquake or fire drills. But the thing is, parents aren't notified that that's happening. They're not told at the end of the day, hey, just letting you know if you go home and Johnny is upset, maybe he's distressed, maybe he had a nightmare, whichever. Hey, we did this today. Kind of give the parents a heads up, because sometimes we know that children seem to act out more at home because that's where in the safety net of mom and dad or whoever is caring for them. We know that children most likely act out at home to kind of have that release. And parents aren't notified on so many things. And when I started kind of putting pieces together, the pronouns, the lockdown words, terrorizing the kids, you're basically traumatizing them, right? Right from kindergarten. Things were just not making sense. Absolutely not making sense. And then, just as the time went on, I was challenging them more and more. Like now we are given double, how would I call it? Double layers of the masking that children had to wear. And guess where they came from? These masks, China. These masks, these cloth masks are from China, and they're giving out maybe 2 extra per student. And we're now having extra for families. We're just counting photocopier paper coming out of the machine last year. We just lost our lunch program. We're an inner city school. We've just lost our science program. No longer are we doing the salmon hatchery, watching the egg progress, right? We just lost all those, but yet we have all these. It's just absolutely mind-boggling.
So where is she speaking? She's still there.
No, I'm still here.
Yeah. So where did it go for that? I mean, how did Soji develop?
Well, I think Soji was a slow rollout behind the scenes, right? You didn't really get to see the big push. I think the big push was when the pronouns started coming out. Then we started saying to students, you can change your gender. The books that the teachers were reading, I Am Jazz, where a little boy can change into a girl. That slowly started rolling out. The books that were in the library weren't as pornographic then when I was teaching as they are now, but we did have the books, 2 is a Tango, where it's 2 gay penguins who have an egg. And we talked about, gay families. We talked about 2 moms or 2 dads. And I mean, I don't see anything out of the abnormal for that, because we're in a different multicultural society where families are very diverse. But when the staff bathroom in our school, and we only had 2 that parents used, we had to have a 2-hour meeting about what are the words that we're going to put on the door, because we have 2 dads in the school that are transitioning to be a woman. And I'm like, so we are changing staff bathrooms to reflect these 2 dads who may be offended because they want to use the toilet? 2-hour meeting. And then I started seeing that high schools started changing their bathrooms. Then there was a school here that's very well known called Emily Carr, was done after an artist. Emily Carr Elementary School was the first pilot project school that actually took out boys and girls bathrooms, and they made them both sexes can use them. And so a little boy went home. He told his mom. I met her in a protest I was at, and she told me the story, what was going on. But this is the fine line that she had. When the students were standing, her son was in his classroom, Emily Carr Elementary. This would have been in 2021, 2022. All the students were wearing their mask in the classroom. They're double-plied. The teachers had the students tape an X to their mouth over top of the mask.
Wow.
And so she had them do some type of silence ritual thing. And her son was 10 when this happened. So he was able to go home and tell his mom, hey, Mom, at school today, the teacher had us tape these black X's over top of our mask and had us do this type of ceremony.
Whoa.
So there was some pretty weird things that started happening.
That's crazy.
It's just absolutely shocking. And what about the sex ed?
Well, I'd like to call her out, and I've been calling her out since day one. She is a person, her name is Salima Noon. I've had conversations with the parents today. Salima Noon is the one that's teaching sex ed, and normally courses are paid by the education ministry, by the provincial government, right? A lot of our courses are paid out through that. My wages are paid through that. Well, we have this woman who's coming in and teaching sex ed. It's not sex ed, but parents are fundraising over $1,000 for this woman to come in. And I had her, I don't know, maybe over 15 years every year. She would come in, she'd do her spiel about this and that. And in 2021 is when her wording started changing. So I'm in a kindergarten room again that year, and she's holding up the doll. It's a cloth doll, and she's pointing to the genital areas on the doll, and she's in, this is your pleasure spot, and sometimes when you touch your pleasure spot it feels real good. Now an adult can touch you if you give them consent. And I'm saying in my head, are you kidding me? They're 5. So in the previous years her tune wasn't that, it was no adult should touch you. And
Exactly.
all of a sudden I started seeing her shift. Now, the beginning of her slides, it doesn't say sex ed. I actually have the slides. The beginning of her slides, it says sexual pleasure by Salima Noon. Doesn't say sexual education by Salima Noon. So I've said to parents, well, if you think this woman is all great and she's teaching her kids all these wonderful things, why does the title of her slide say sexual pleasure?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you really are raising money for this woman to teach your children that you're raising money for sexual health, why that? And I started asking all these things, and they didn't have answers. And then I said, okay, and then why in grades 5, 6, and 7 is she telling them about lube and sex toys and vibrators? And I said to these parents, we're not at a sex party here where you have adults and they're buying toys. We're at a school in a classroom where this should not be a conversation.
Exactly.
The parent said, you know what the parent just said back to me this afternoon? I was flabbergasted. She said, if they're getting it on social media, they're getting it on TV, they're getting it everywhere else, so why not get the information at school from the right person? I said to her this.
Joking.
I said to her this. Salima Noon is not their parent to make the decision on what your child is being exposed to. She is not teaching the children personal boundaries at all. It's anything, how to have your boundaries violated.
Yeah, well,
And what age again was that? 5-year-olds?
5-year-olds. Oh no, the sex toys, I'm talking grades 5, 6, and 7. So that's like 10 years old and up.
It's
people
very
criminal.
positive education, isn't it? People think, or the people who know about it assume that it's safe from a safeguarding point of view, when actually it's a really hyper-sexualized, sex-positive education in that way you've just explained it there. Sexual pleasure, teaching a child about pleasure.
Yeah, and why is a title like I called this parent out this afternoon. That is a huge flag right there. If the title of her slides to kids says sexual pleasure, that should make you start asking questions right there.
Exactly.
And they're paying over between $1,000. Our dollars are a little bit different. They're paying her anywhere from $1,300 to $1,400, and these parents fundraise for her to come in. And I'm thinking, what a shame, because this money could be used for special events, for speakers, for field trips, music program. I don't know, something that is of value to these students. But these parents think, I'm doing a good thing. I need my kids. I'm like, no, you don't. You can teach your child what you find is appropriate, age appropriate, because 5-year-olds don't need to know about condoms. And she's showing them a condom. Hello? Why are we're not saying, hey, if you're in the playground and you see a condom in the playground, don't pick it up. No, that's not it. Here's a condom. This is what it's used for. 5-year-olds.
It is as bad as we think. Look, because
it really is.
For it, like we say, it shouldn't be anywhere near children at all in any capacity. To think that sexual pleasure, I know it happens because I've seen the literature, but it's just coming out of your mouth in that way. Is it like these little 5-year-olds? It's just
no,
really
that
shocking.
word just doesn't need to be in their vocabulary. None of it.
Well, I could send you all the slides from this woman's presentation. I have about 4 or 5 of them that go all the way from kindergarten to grade 7.
I would like to definitely.
Yeah, I would like. And would we be
them.
all right to share them and put them on the website? So I
do whatever you like.
Oh yeah, thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you so much. So what's happened to you and the attack that you've been under? Because I presume, are you still working for the school? Well, I know the answer, but for the benefit of the listeners.
Yeah, no. When I quit, I already knew that I could no longer do this for a paycheck, right? Teachers don't make a heck of a lot of money. Garbage men make more money than us. And I felt that I knew in my heart that this was wrong. And I saw children in distress. I saw a lot of things that were going on that didn't measure up. I felt my staff were not really seeing what I was pointing out. And I felt the only way that I'm going to bring this down is doing it from the outside. So I quit my job, and then that's when I got right into action from the outside. I went to the Teachers Federation with police. I brought a whole bunch of people with me. I went to the Vancouver Coastal Health Unit with police. I brought people with me to the President's office. I went all over BC doing speeches about what was going on in our school, because at that time, people were concerned about the masking. People were concerned about the jibber jabber, right? And I asked people in the crowd in 2021, 2022, when was the last time you stepped in your child's school? Not one hand raised up, not one. And I said, it's because it's by design. And I'll tell you why it's by design. And you need to open up your eyes, because they are doing things behind your back while you're at work. That is just not okay. And it's overstepping their boundaries.
I mean, we in this country, I don't know about over there, but we used to have an open school, door policy at schools, so parents could go in. This is years ago. I'm talking years ago, but I think that's now been taken away.
No, we did have that. We're an inner city school. Our front door of our school is an open door policy. The desk for the secretary was right there, so anybody could come in. Parents could even come in and roam around the hallway, look at the children's artwork, have conversations with the parents. We had a coffee station set up where parents could get together and have coffee, chit chat. But as soon as that came up, the other red flag was our front door was barricaded with the table. That's our emergency exit. Why is the front door of our school being barred with the table, plexiglass, and a big pump of the sanitizer, right? Sanitizer was galore all over that school. And I was seeing students' hands being eaten away, the skin. I was seeing when kids were going outside for recess. We have a recess that's like 15 or 20 minutes, and they have a lunch. I was seeing staff sanitizing kids' hands before they went outside. And I'm like, wait a sec. They're going outside to where germs and bacteria are, and you're sanitizing their hands because why?
Yeah.
What? There's just all this, all the propaganda, all the social conditioning, all the psychological warfare, all this stuff that they were doing. Because now I learned that if you put a student, a young child, in a state of trauma and you are traumatizing them, and you put them in a state of fear and anxiety, you can do whatever you want with them. You can put in their brain whatever you want. And I was seeing it right in front of me. And I'm seeing it by my peers. I saw it by my boss. And I was just flabbergasted with what they were doing. And parents couldn't be known what was going on because they weren't allowed to come in the school. They weren't allowed to have parent-teacher meetings. They weren't allowed to use the toilet. The silliness of it was just ridiculous. And then I could see the division of parents where they started separating. So we had dots outside of our classroom door where children would wait with their students before we let them in. So normally with 5-year-olds, they're quite anxious in the morning and they have that hard time of separating from mom, right? Maybe it's their first experience. Maybe they have separation anxiety, whichever. There was many kids that wanted to stand there and hold their mom and dad's hand before they went in. Teachers were already telling parents, stand at the bottom of the hill, go there. Mm-hmm. These kids need to stay separate and we need them on the line on their dot, right? We're outside. We're not in a building. So I saw that. Then I said, parents are getting a little bit upset that they don't know what's going on. So we had huge glass windows that went around the outside of the school for each classroom. What the staff did to appease the parents to get them off their back was they started taking artwork, children's math books, writing assessments, whatever, and taping it to windows, thinking that will get the parents off our back. Right? We're just going to give them this just to shut them up, right? Because we're just going to show them that we're doing something. But inside the classroom, they were bored to tears. They're saying, you can't have paper. Paper's going to spread germs. You can't have a crayon. It was mind-numbing.
Well, psychological warfare, isn't it, for the children? Massively. You know, like you were saying with the hand sanitizer, you know, my friend's daughter was the same as well, because they had gone on about it so much. She eventually picked that habit up of doing it literally all the time, and her hands were really cracked. You know, where they're using the chemicals, obviously, from the sanitizer, are obviously going through their skin. And it's like you've instilled some real fear into those children, some real severe, traumatizing fear that has to be, you know, solved later on in life, which will come back. And it's just awful. It really is just, you know, really they're beelining for those kids as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, and I could see that when kids come into kindergarten, they might not have had experiences of being in a preschool daycare setting where they've had the opportunity to be in a group setting. When they come into kindergarten setting, the main part is communication. It's hard to communicate when you got a mask on your face all day, right?
Yeah.
And then the kids who are maybe speech delayed, autistic, they even have a harder trouble, and then the speech really declines, right? Then you want to create a socialization where they're learning to think outside of themselves, because 5-year-olds are quite egotistical. Everything is about me, my toy, me this, my. You're trying to get them to connect to a group. Well, we've got the kids separated. Okay, Johnny, you're over there playing. Sammy, you're over there. No, you can't be with that person because you're so many feet aside. And the separation and then the lack of things that they were given was causing behavior as well, right? Because, oh my gosh, we haven't tested this to see if it's COVID friendly. I might spread germs. Oh, if you're giving a crayon, wait, let me get we had a spray bottle that had chemicals in it. If I gave a crayon that Joey had over here, and I want to give it to Timmy over here, I just spray the crayon down first. Then I could give the crayon to that other child. Crayon, pencil.
Absolute insanity.
It's obviously really severe in some places. Like, you know, they really took it to the extremes. There's no wonder the children are suffering.
No, it's insane. And as we're seeing more things being ramping up here with the BCTF, which is the BC Teachers Federation, is really in with WHO, UNESCO, United Nations, all of these things. We can really see how they're all partnering up and where money is funneling through. We're seeing how they are stripping parents' rights, and how they're doing under the guise of human rights or the LGBTQ. We need to be diverse and inclusive. Oh, okay. Well, what about the Mexicans, Canadians, Chinese, Islam? What about them?
Yeah.
We're just going to cater to this small little marginalized community, but we just want everybody to conform to that.
Yeah.
We're not being diverse if we're not celebrating everything else. And I thought, okay, well, we should have a Mexico flag, Mexican flag, Italian flag, all these other flags to represent diversity. Because if you really are diverse and you're really supposed to be celebrating equality, where is it?
Exactly.
I only see one thing. And if you don't conform to this, I'm a bigot, I'm a transphobe, I'm a homophobe, I'm a this, I'm a that.
Yep.
And if I don't conform to this mentality, then I'm a hateful, horrible person.
Yeah. Pretty much, isn't it? That's
And they've got no argument. That is their argument, you know, to
that
brand
is their
you
argument
and
that
label
they're
you.
using. I just I was working with the woman who's actually taking the school board to the Supreme Court here. She filed her petition on April 20, no. She filed her petition on April 13th of 2023. The school board has 21 days to respond to her petition, and then she's going to take action. And what she's trying to get stopped was, in Vernon, BC, parents were upset about SOGI. Parents were upset about, you know, if my child doesn't conform to this, then, you know, they're bigots or whichever. Parents were upset about the pornography that are in the books, the curriculum, all of this stuff, that the ideology part. What they started doing is, the school rules that I'm understanding, when trustees here change bylaws, it has to go through 3 hearings and then 3 meetings. And then those 3 meetings, parents get to have public input, right? Because trustees are paid by the parents, they're elected by the parents. You're supposed to be the voice of the parent. Well, this new activism group, which are a bunch of trustees out of Vernon, skipped the hearings, told the parents that you don't have any right to speak, and don't bother me when I'm trying to go home because I just want to go home. You're nothing but convoy truckers, anti-maskers, anti-this, anti-that. I'm sick and tired of you guys. And it's all on a BitChute video. These trustees calling these parents out, shutting up their mics and walking out.
Wow. I'll have a look at that video as well. This is just crazy. They're not even being subtle about any of this, are they? They're just really basically telling you how it is.
Yeah, no, they are. They are. And I understand that the human rights has been amended here in Canada to allow the slippery slope of the transgender ideology to cover that. So this is how they're protecting themselves, along with the ARC Foundation, which is also providing a lot of this curriculum resources to school staff. Then I started learning about who funded the transgender movement, and it was a bunch of gay elite millionaires that wanted to possess women's biology to create a new species. And I see it unfolding in front of my eyes. With the transgender clinics are rising here. We have I don't know if you have them there. We have wellness centers in our schools here, which are teamed with doctors and nurses in the schools. Like, it's mini hospital. We have a mini hospital in these high schools, elementary schools. They're spreading all through BC, and they're making it on their website that if we want to help parents, that if you need to go to an appointment, no need, your child can just walk down the hallway and don't need to leave work, right? I was the nurse in our school, the second nurse in our school. I got a measly $12 extra a month, that if I got called in the PA that there was a first aid emergency, I got called in. We didn't have a nurse in our school. I was the nurse. And I got pulled out of the classroom, had to deal with a first aid issue. Now we've got doctors and nurses full-time with social workers and psychologists and affirming care in these wellness centers in high schools. I said, parents, they're not there for you. They're not there for your best interest. They are there so if your child decides during school hours that he wants to go get puberty blockers, hormone blockers, you just go and do that. Because in Canada, under our Infant Minor Act, children 0 to 19 do not need parental consent. Zero, nothing. A child can just go and do whatever I want. And if I want to know my child's medical records, if they went and did the jibby jabber or the Bockers or anything else, I now have to ask my 5-year-old's permission in the doctor's office to look at their medical records.
Which is crazy.
It's
It's all about
disgraceful.
giving them the power of that consent, empowering them way beyond their capacity just to exploit them and drive the wedge in between the mother, the parent and child.
Absolutely. I mean, we're seeing it with emergency sheets that go home. So at the beginning of each year, we give the students emergency forms so that in an event of emergency, I can contact the mom, dad, a grandparent, whoever, right? So it would actually say mother, and then I would have information, father, grandparent. They've taken those names out. Doesn't say mother, doesn't say father. It says caregiver 1 and caregiver 2.
Wow.
They've taken that out. You're no
Apparently they've
longer
been
a
having
mother or
quite a
father.
few problems and with birth certificates now and passports and things as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
You know,
I would
because of
imagine
what
that
are they
would be the
writing on the
case.
birth certificates?
Yeah, and I think also too, the early child education here has now just been changed to adapt to the non-binary LGBTQ plus plus. Now they're allowing queer dances or queer drag queen dances, a part of imaginative play in early
Yeah.
child education.
Yeah, we've seen this over years.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna see this in a preschool that it's now a part of imaginative play.
I know. Well, it's under the banner of all of these things that we know are harmful to minors. They get away with it under that exemption of if it's anything to do with art, science, or
Art's a big one.
education. And if it's those three, so something we all know that, say pornography is obviously dangerous to everyone, but dangerous to a child. We all know that. I forgot what I was going to say.
This is starting.
Oh
to
yeah,
happen.
sorry. So, but under that exemption, if Mr. Jones teaches it from a local primary school, then it doesn't. It makes it safe. It's like, what? This is ridiculous, but that's how they're getting away with it. This is why we've seen the really disgusting artwork all over the world.
Oh, that was just,
You
I
know.
shared a picture the other day of
Disgusting.
in the name of art, and it's a grown gentleman, and the picture is he's naked with his bottom sticking out, and there's a young child with
disgusting.
a brush on a stick. I mean,
Well,
but it's all in the name of art, and that's how they get away with it. I mean, it's, this is criminal. The drag queen thing over here is really starting to get to people now. We've had enough of this. This is nonsense. Adult entertainment does not belong around our children, and that's what these drag shows are. I mean, it's dangerous to put your. I feel so grateful that my children are not. They've gone on from that, but I mean, it's to have a child now and put them into the education system. I mean, it's frightening. And I know there are going to be people out there who just remove your kids from school. Yes, okay, that's right. But in the meantime, we've got to think of the children. We've got to keep on doing this. We've got to keep on fighting. Yes, people should take their children out, but circumstances, you don't know all the stories. Your kids should be the most number one priority. And the children are yours. They're not the government's. They do not have the right to take the children. I mean, I know it's on the birth certificates and that's another story, but they don't. It should be you educating your child about sexual things, not a stranger that you really, who really knows.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree.
So
we are also noticing that within our school districts, we have districts for our different municipalities. And in the school districts, we're actually going through their website on resources and material. And we're noticing that the school districts, superintendents, and trustees are violating their own policies. And we're trying to catch them on it. Hey, under this policy, the parents have access to this. Under this policy, and they're written. They still stand, but they think, well, we're not really going to pay attention to this. So therefore, they don't have to be upholden. And so now we're kind of bringing these up. You are violating your own policies that you wrote.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
just can't go and make them up as you go.
Yeah, which is what's happening essentially, isn't
It
it?
is. It is. So, Ronnie, how do people look you up and all the work that you guys are doing?
Well, I think there's more people rising up. We have a couple of wonderful ladies who have started putting up, they're called SOGI. SOGI stands for Sexual Orientation Gender Identity. That's what it is in Canada. I know around the world it's called different things, but we have a couple of moms who have taken it upon themselves to put up, on the spur of the moment, SOGI pop-up tents. So they'll go out in public, they'll have a table, they'll have some banners, they have material about what is SOGI, what is the sex that's being taught in our schools. Here's some forms that you can give to your teacher, principal, trustee. Here's some of the books that might be in your school library. And they did, their first one went okay. Someone called the police on them because someone was offended by their sign saying, "We're stopping the sexualization of children," and she was offended by that. So the police got called. He says, "You can't really be here." She says, "No, it's not private property. I have the right to be here," just like Jehovah Witnesses stand on the corner and they hand out their Bibles and their pamphlets. I have the right to be here too. And so that went well. And then yesterday they did their other one. And so they are noticing people are starting to question things. People do want to know. People want to know what's going on. What can I do is one thing. What can I do? Because I see they're going for the jugular, right? Now they've got it so that in Canada, our prime minister has the MAID program where a child can consent to commit suicide. A child. So if we have,
that's just too much.
so we have children in schools that are traumatized, right? We got children who are in schools who are full of depression. We got children in schools who are highly depressed and anxious. Then we've got kids who've done the transgender operations. And with that comes a lot of, agony and the brain swelling, the heart organs, heart attacks. And when they're in those states, what's the one thing that a child or anybody wants is to make the pain go away.
Yeah.
So any school will say, "Hey, if you want the pain go away, well, there's the wellness center just down the hall."
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm telling parents, if you don't stand up and you go to pick your kid up at school at 3, don't be surprised.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, they're just making euthanasia okay. I think it's it. Where did I did an article on it the other day. Well, I didn't do an article as such.
Yeah, they did.
Where was it?
No,
I think
they made euthanasia okay, that children here in Canada do not need consent.
Yeah. But they've done it over here in Europe as well. Yeah, euthanasia to be available to Dutch children of all ages.
They did the same here too. So we can see that these children who've started the transgender operations have finished it and have not been told what you're going to deal with afterwards, right? It's a lot of agony, a lot of pain, a lot of drugs. They're not told. They're just sold on this glamorized thing, that you're gonna be more welcomed. You're gonna have more friends. You're gonna have this and that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And you sell them on this, and kids are impressionable. They're like little sponges. They'll take whatever you give them, right? For the likes and fame, fortune, whatever. And no one tells them this is what it's going to look like after. And I'm showing parents, you want to see? This is what the leg looks like. This is what an arm skin graft looks like. What's the arm skin graft for? It's to go around the penis. What?
I actually said we've got a photo of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if Rick or Jason. Oh, Jason's not here. I don't know if Rick's got a picture of that.
Yeah, there was.
There was a picture we
show them.
sent that of what they do here.
On the arms, obviously taking the skin.
The parents don't know, and they're looking at it and they're saying to me, "What is that?" I said, "It's a skin graft." And they go, "For what?" And then I tell them, they're like, "Oh my goodness." I said, "That scar doesn't go away. That scar is going to be there for life. And that's going to be a reminder of the stupid choice you made and your parents didn't fight for you. That's what that's going to be a reminder for.
I haven't
That
got
your
the picture to
parents,
show.
your parents were spineless cowards." I'm sorry, maybe I sound really harsh,
No.
but
No, you don't. Not at all.
But that's a reminder. And some of these, like Chloe, there's a few other people who are transitioning back. They're angry with their parents.
Yeah.
Why did you allow me to make this decision that's now ruined my life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of this going on, you know, it has
I
really.
wish we could get the picture up to
I
show.
know. You've probably seen it, right? We'll get it.
Well,
at
no, for
some
Ronnie,
point.
yeah, I wanted to show it to people watching,
Yeah.
so they could see.
Yeah,
because we
I
didn't
just put the
mention it.
picture up. The picture went up.
Oh, it did.
Oh, it did. Well done.
Well done.
Good
Yeah.
on, Rick.
Oh, thank you so much, Ronnie.
How do people look at all your work? And we really want to, continue to speak to you, and we've all got to support, because it's a global agenda. It's a global rollout. It's not getting the mainstream media attention that it should be. It's down to parents and grassroots people
Yeah.
like ourselves, fighting for the children.
Yeah. So
And we've got to all work together here, because it's what kind of a society are we if we can't look after our most precious belongings?
exactly.
I tell parents right now, you have two choices. This is your choice. You fight like hell for your kids, because your kids are worth saving. The school is not there to fight for you and your kids. They're not there at all. So you got to fight like hell for your kids to protect them, because if not, you might end up going to a funeral. I'm sorry, that might sound really harsh.
No, but it's the reality.
Or you withdraw and you homeschool your kids. And there are so many ways that you can figure it out. Maybe like money right now is really tight with the rise of the economy and everything. Go back to bartering and trade. Go back to some other system. And they go, well, I have to do, the 9 to 3 system. No, that's the Rockefeller system of 9 to 3. That's not your system. You don't have to follow this indoctrination system that does not serve you or your child. You know what's best for your child, and I'm sure you will figure that out.
And this is coming from, a very recently, I was going to say retired teacher, but you're not retired, you resigned. So, from a teacher that's been there and actually can see, like you say, you can see the fallout of where this has been. And, a lot of people don't actually, well, they don't believe us flat out, if I'm going to be honest. I think they think we're exaggerating a little. So I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on and telling us how it really actually is within those schools in British Columbia, at least.
And how can people look up?
Yeah, where can people find you? What's the SOGI website address so they can come and have a look at more, because there is.
So our SOGI website address is www.sogi123taskforce.com. That is our website. And we have a solution tab where parents can go under grandparents, concerned adults, because there's some adults who are not have children, but they're concerned. You can go to our solution tab, print out any PDF that you have, and you can start to create action today. Also, I have my own independent work that I do on RH Media, standing for children. I have my YouTube channel, I have a Rumble channel, I have an Odyssey channel where I'm interviewing many people that are in the thick of it, right? Taking the arrows, trying to create action. The one hot thing that we're working on right now is we have a panel of trustees who have taken the arrows, who have been charged, who have been arrested, who've been fingerprinted, who've been mugshot, who are going to come on and speak to us on what parents need to know, how they're being blindsided from trustees who are, some are still working, some have been retired, some have been in for more than 25 years, on educating parents on what more they can do that to create more action and to be really effective at school board meetings.
Oh, that's amazing.
Ronnie Herman, thank you so much for joining us. And sorry about the time mix up.
Yeah,
That's,
my fault. I do apologise.
It's all
but
good.
Thank you so much for coming on. Short notice it was from your end, wasn't it?
I appreciate you having me on. It was a pleasure to be able to be part of your podcast marathon, and I've shared it with everybody out there.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Thank
Get
you
on
so
here.
much. We've still got another 23 hours to go.
I'll be watching you guys, supporting you, and lots of people in Canada are watching and wishing you guys the very best.
Thank
Oh,
you
thank
so
you,
much, Ronnie.
Ronnie.
God bless you.